Little Vinayak was a little elephant. An unhappy little elephant. He had the most peculiar problem. He kept tripping on his trunk. He tripped on his trunk at least 100 times every day. A week ago, he had heard Dr. Hippo tell his ma that his trunk was just a wee bit too long. And that was a problem. "What can I do, Ma?" wailed Vinayak. Poor Ma, what could she do? Dr. Hippo had not offered any cure. "Come here, Vinu," she called. She gathered Vinayak's long trunk and tied it into a huge knot. "Yippee!" shouted Vinayak, excited that he could run. "Oh, thank you, Ma," he said, giving his mother a kiss with his knotted trunk. He ran, he jumped, he skipped, but soon the knot loosened and came undone. "Dharam!" Vinayak stumbled and fell. "You clumsy oaf!" scolded his grandfather, waving his perfect trunk. A large pool of tears formed around Vinayak's trunk. His cousins laughed. Some of them teased. "I have an idea," cried Mika the monkey. Mika was Vinayak's friend. He never teased Vinayak and was the only one who understood his problem. "Come with me, Vinayak," Mika said. Vinayak followed Mika, stumbling and falling along the way until they reached the forest lake. "Dip your trunk into the lake, Vinayak," said Mika. "Leave it there for a few hours. The water will shrink it." So Vinayak stood beside the lake and dipped his trunk into it. Soon his legs grew tired and he sat down. The sun went down and the sky grew dark. "Vinu! Vinu! Vinayak!" he heard his mother call. "Time to go home!" Vinayak got up slowly and removed his trunk from the water. He saw it shriveled and wrinkly. "It shrunk! It shrunk!" he burst out happily. "Yippee! Thank you, Mika!" he cried. He waved his trunk up and down and ran about. But soon, the trunk dried in the air. Away went the wrinkles, and away went the shrivels. The trunk grew long again, and he stepped on it. Dharam! Vinayak fell again. "Never mind, Vinu," consoled Ma. "We will find a way. Come, let's go home now." Little Vinayak twined his trunk around Ma's tail and unhappily followed her home. Vinayak couldn't sleep that night. He kept looking at his trunk and wished that it would go away. Why did he have to have such a long trunk? Why couldn't he have a normal trunk just like everyone else? Early the next morning, Vinayak got up and stumbled to Mika's house. Mika, Mika, wake up, he called. You've just got to help me. Oh, Vinayak, come here. Let me see what I can do, offered Mika. Mika took the free end of Vinayak's trunk. He rolled it like a mat inwards. The trunk unrolled. Mika then rolled it outwards. The trunk unrolled again. He folded the trunk. It unfolded. He twisted the trunk. It untwisted. He knotted it again. The knot came undone. Each time the trunk fell and got caught between Vinayak's legs. And each time Vinayak fell. Dharam, dharam, dharam. Vinayak was sore. His bum hurt. His feet ached. He was tired and fed up of his trunk.
Thadam, thadam, I slip over my long trunk. I trip. Thadam, thadam, my trunk is too long. Something's amiss, something's wrong. I wish I could walk with grace and style. I wish I could walk with grace and style. I wish I could move with a swing and smile. But thadam, thadam, I trip, I fall. Why can't I be normal like all? Thadam, thadam, I slip. Over my long trunk I trip. Thadam, thadam, my trunk is too long. Something's amiss, something's wrong.
At this time, an unusual guest arrived in the forest. It was Tembo. From the time he was born, Vinayak and his brothers had heard many stories about Tembo, the largest elephant that ever roamed the forest. Strange whispers continuously floated in the jungle about Tembo's strength and size. But when Vinayak actually saw Tembo, he was taken completely by surprise. Yes, Tembo was huge. He was larger than Dr. Hippo and broader than Vinayak's old aunt. But the most incredible thing was that Tembo had a trunk that was unusually long, much, much longer than Vinayak could ever imagine. It was unending, stretching, and really, really long. Even little Vinayak's grandfather, who had lived a great many years and had seen a great many things, looked at Tembo and his trunk with wonder. Yet this large elephant moved with the greatest ease. He never stumbled and never fell. Little Vinayak watched stunned. The others gasped in awe. Vinayak ran to him, stumbling and falling as he went. "Excuse me, Mr. Big Elephant Creature," Vinayak said breathlessly. How do you do it?" "Do what, little one?" asked Tembo softly. Vinayak strained to catch the big animal's voice. For a creature so big, Tembo's voice was the merest whisper. Oh, how do you manage not to trip?" asked Vinayak. "Your trunk is so long, and you're so big, but still you never fall? How?" "Would you like to learn, child?" asked Tembo ever so softly. Vinayak nodded eagerly, waving his trunk up and down. "Yes, oh yes," he burst out. "Come, little one," Tembo invited. "Stand beside me and do what I do." Little Vinayak stood beside Tembo in complete attention. The trick is to manage the problem, not to let the problem manage you. "Huh?" asked Vinayak, raising his eyebrow, confused. "Move the way I do. Watch your front legs," Tembo instructed little Vinayak. "Put out your right foot first. Swing your trunk to the left. Left foot next. Swing your trunk to the right." Vinayak followed the enormous pachyderm. As he moved his little body, Vinayak swung his trunk left and right. "Why, it's like a dance," thought Vinayak. He sang aloud.
Put your right foot out.
Put your right foot out.
Swing your trunk to the left.
Swing your trunk to the left.
Put your left foot out.
Put your left foot out.
Swing your trunk to the right.
Swing your trunk to the right.
Put your right foot out. Swing your trunk to the left. Put your left foot out. Swing your trunk to the right. Do it to the beat with a step and a swing. Right foot, trunk left. Left foot, trunk right. Put your right foot out. Swing your trunk to the left. Put your left foot out. Swing your trunk to the right.
Singing, swaying, and stepping, he was so intent on his steps that Vinayak did not realize he had moved past 2 mango trees without falling even once. Mika clapped excitedly. "You've got it, Vinayak, you've got it!" "By Ganpati, I have got it," thought Vinayak. "When stop," said the big one. As Vinayak stopped mid-song, the trunk got caught in his feet. Then dhadam! He fell again. "You've almost got it, little Vinayak," said Tembo. "You just need to learn how to stop. Come, follow me one more time." Tembo swayed his endless nose and began his walk. Gracefully, he swung and sang.
When you wish to stop, bring your feet together, curl your trunk up tight, and you come to a halt.
Put your right foot out. Swing your trunk to the left. Put your left foot out. Swing your trunk to the right. Do
thrilled. Let me try, let me try, he shouted eagerly. He began his song. He chanted and walked, sang and walked, swayed and walked, and never did he fall. Everyone gathered to watch this spectacle. And when Tembo shouted stop, Vinayak sang, feet together, curled trunk tight, and came to a perfect halt. All the animals cheered. That night there was a big party. Together with the moon smiling and the stars twinkling and Mika clapping, little Vinayak and big Tembo sang their song and danced their very special dance. And now, even we know why baby elephants never trip on their trunks, don't we? For even if the trunks are long, they have learned the special dance from our little Vinayak.
Over my long trunk I trip, ta-dum, ta-dum, my trunk is too long. Something's amiss, something's wrong. I wish I could walk with grace and style. I wish, I wish, I wish, I wish I could walk with grace and style. I wish I could move with a swing and smile. But ta-dum, ta-dum, I trip, I fall. Why can't I be normal like all? Ta-dum, ta-dum, I slip, over my long trunk I trip, ta-dum, ta-dum, my trunk is too long. Something's amiss, something's wrong.
Put your right foot out.
Put your right foot out.
Swing your trunk to the left.
Swing your trunk to the left.
Put your left foot out.
Put your left foot out.
Swing your trunk to the right.
Swing your trunk to the right.
Put your right foot out. Swing your trunk to the left. Put your left foot out. Swing your trunk to the right. Do it to the beat with a step and a swing. Right foot, trunk left. Left foot, trunk right. Put your right foot out. Swing your trunk to the left. Put your left foot out. Swing your trunk to the right.
Sesha Sai was a boy of 10 and he had a magnificent nose. It was a nose that many people would say had character. It was also a nose that people rarely ever saw because it was always buried in some book or the other. He took his books everywhere. He rarely spoke, and while most other kids were out in the playground, he was found beneath a tree with his nose buried in his book. The only person he came close to speaking to was the school librarian. Sesha, as his mother affectionately called him, devoured books the way some people devoured food. Every Thursday, he'd go to the library and pick out a new book. He would pick the book up and feel it in his hand, gently bobbing it up and down. He'd close his eyes, open the book, and savor the scent of paper. Only after this elaborate ritual did Sesha decide if he was interested in the book or not. Most of the time, he was. Then, he would head over to the librarian, give her a little smile and a nod as if to say, "Thank you," and leave, his nose in his book. The other children thought he was strange and huddled together and made songs about him that they sang as he walked by.
There goes Sesha, his nose in his book. Wouldn't give anyone else a look. There goes Sesha, his nose in his book. Wouldn't give anyone else a look. Does he have a nose? We wonder if it blows. Does he have a mouth? Is there someone who knows? Does he have lips? Are they pink, do you think? Or does he have eyes and read only ink? There goes Sesha, his nose in his book. Wouldn't give anyone else a look.
But Sesha was not bothered by the taunts of the other children. His books were his world. Whenever he opened a book, he felt like a great explorer navigating a sea of words. It was always a great adventure. Sesha knew that books could take you places that most people only dreamed about. Why? Last week, he was a warrior, deep in the forests of Africa. He could make weapons out of sharp stones and medicines from leaves. He even helped a hurt tiger by bandaging its tail. He wrote down the ingredients for the medicine in his little brown notebook. Sesha carried his brown notebook with him everywhere and would furiously write in it from time to time. Nobody knew what was in it. They heard it contained many strange secrets. They heard it had rainbow-striped tigers and horses with wings that came alive when you saw them. Rohan and Rohit Raman were brothers in Sesha's class. They were also the unofficial rulers of the playground. Most of the other children stayed out of their way. They were forever tripping or pushing the smaller children or tying their shoelaces together when they weren't looking. The only person who wasn't afraid of the Raman brothers was Sesha. This was because he was too busy reading to notice. The Raman brothers, however, had noticed him sitting by himself under a tree and didn't take very kindly to the lack of respect. One Thursday, they sat on the bench outside the library, huddled together under their raincoats. Sesha came walking down the path as usual, his nose buried in his book. And before you knew it, Rohit's big boots sprang out and sent Sesha sprawling to the ground. His book went flying out of his arms and into a puddle of brown. The brothers clutched their stomachs and laughed as Sesha watched the precious pages of his brown notebook slowly fill with mud. Sesha stood up, his eyes brimming with tears. He marched up to the Raman brothers, who were laughing so hard they couldn't even stand straight. All the other children stopped to watch the astonishing sight of Sesha. Strange, silent Sesha stand up to the Raman brothers. The Raman brothers had stopped laughing. They were too shocked to react. You bullies, Sesha spluttered. There was silence. The only sound was the sound of rain falling on the pavement where the three boys stood. Then, suddenly, the silence was shattered by Rohan's thunderous belly laugh that rippled through the playground. Sesha picked up his book and ran home, big wet drops of rain and tears streaming down his face. News travelled fast. By the next day, every child in the school had heard about the showdown in the playground. Hey, strange silent Sesha walked up to the Raman brothers. Strange silent Sesha couldn't even get a word out. The Raman brothers took complete advantage of the situation.
Strange silent Sesha, his nose in a book, his eyes reading words that his mouth mistook.
Strange silent Sesha, his nose in a book, his eyes reading words that his mouth mistook.
When he utters, does he stutter? Can he mutter? Can he moan? Can he mumble without a mumble? Can he manage even a groan?
Strange silent Sesha, his nose in a book, his eyes reading words that his mouth mistook.
When his lips slip, teeth meet, and he mouth the words his eyes greet, and he shut his mouth and throw up beer.
It looks so funny, sounds so weird.
When his lips slip, teeth meet, and he mouth the words his eyes greet, and he shut his mouth and throw up beer.
It looks so funny, sounds so weird.
Strange silent Sesha, his nose in a book, his eyes reading words that his mouth mistook.
Strange silent Sesha, his nose in a book, his eyes reading words that his mouth mistook. Strange silent Sesha, even stranger now, also very silly, like a spluttering cow.
The taunts never used to hurt Sesha before, but now they pricked him, and he wished they would stop. Sesha sat through his classes in silence. Every now and then, Rohit or Rohan would call out from the back, "Stuttering Sesha, why don't you say something?" And the class would erupt in laughter. It wasn't that the children were cruel. They were just having too much fun to realize how hurtful words can be. They didn't know that Sesha wasn't strange or silent or silly or any of the nasty things they called him. He was just afraid of being laughed at. Then, one day, during geography class, Mrs. Raj talked about Bengal tigers. Sesha knew all about tigers. He'd once read a whole book on them. On any other day, his ears would have perked up with interest. But today, he was barely listening. "And who knows what a group of tigers is called?" asked Mrs. Raj. "Sesha?" Mrs. Raj's voice rang out. Sesha looked up to see Mrs. Raj smiling at him expectantly. He stood up and started to speak. He fell silent as sniggers rippled through the classroom. Mrs. Raj shushed the class with one stern look. He tried again. He heard the Raman brothers laughing from the back, and he fell silent and stared at his shoes. He felt Mrs. Raj's hand on his shoulder and looked up to see her holding a piece of chalk in her outstretched arm. Sesha picked up the chalk and walked to the blackboard. He drew 2 lines, and then 2 more, and 2 more. And before you knew it, a tiger emerged with a tail and long, majestic stripes on his body. The class watched in amazement as Sesha's hands flew quickly and deftly over the blackboard. Beautiful white strokes filled the board. He drew another tiger right next to the first one, and another one, and another one. And soon there were 6 magnificent striped tigers on the board. It looked as though they would start roaring any second. The class broke out into a thunderous applause. Then, in big white letters below the drawing, Sesha wrote STREAK, streak. Rohan's voice rang out from the back of the class. "Looks like he's describing himself. Hey, Sesha, I think you mean freak." A group of tigers is called a streak, Rohan. But you would know that if you read more and talked less, said Mrs. Raj. The class erupted in laughter, and suddenly the Raman brothers didn't feel so lord and rulerly anymore. They went red in the face and scowled at all the children laughing and pointing at them. "Very good, Sesha," said Mrs. Raj, as he placed the chalk in her hand. "Thank you, Mrs. Sesha paused. "Thank you, miss," he said, and sat down at his desk. Mrs. Raj smiled at him. "Maybe," she continued, looking at the Raman brothers, "next time, you boys will learn to open your books and close your mouths." The class burst into laughter again. Only this time, it was the Raman brothers whose noses disappeared in their textbooks. "Hey," Sesha heard a voice behind him whisper. "Where did you learn to draw like that?" From a book," said Sesha shyly. "Can you show me?" asked another boy. Sesha nodded, grinning shyly, and said, "Tomorrow." And with that, strange, silent Sesha opened his notebook to the lesson on Bengal tigers as Mrs. Raj's voice filled the classroom. He had a feeling that his nickname wouldn't last very long. And he was right. Because from that day on, When his classmates spoke of Sesha, they referred to him as Sher Shah, the Tiger King. And as for the Raman brothers, it wasn't long before they too were a part of the line that followed Sesha into the library every Thursday morning, where Sesha, with his elaborate ritual, would pick out a book for every student.
There goes Sesha, his nose in his book. Wouldn't give anyone else a look. There goes Sesha, his nose in his book. Wouldn't give anyone else a look. Does he have a nose? We wonder if it blows. Does he have a mouth? Is there someone who knows? Does he have lips? Are they pink, do you think? Or does he have eyes and read only ink? There goes Sesha, his nose in his book. Wouldn't give anyone else a look.
Strange silent Sesha, his nose in a book, his eyes reading words that his mouth mistook.
Strange silent Sesha, his nose in a book, his eyes reading words that his mouth mistook.
When he utters, does he stutter? Can he mutter? Can he moan? Can he mumble without a bumble? Can he manage even a groan?
Strange silent Sesha, his nose in a book, his eyes reading words that his mouth mistook.
When his lips slip, teeth meet, and he mouth the words his eyes meet, can he shut his mouth and throw up beer?
It looks so funny, sounds so weird.
When his lips slip, teeth meet, can he mouth the words his eyes meet, can he shut his mouth and throw up beer?
It looks so funny, sounds so weird.
Strange silent Sesha, his nose in a book, his eyes reading words that his mouth mistook.
Strange silent Sesha, his nose in a book, his eyes reading words that his mouth mistook. Strange silent Sesha, even stranger now, also very silly, like a spluttering cow.